Hi everyone, and welcome to today's Pizza Garden program. I'm Carly, and I'm so excited to see you all back here for one more week. Before we get started, I would love to hear about how everyone's plants are doing since we're almost at our pizza party. Do you have anything ready to harvest? Have you harvested anything already? Or are you just enjoying watching them grow? Feel free to share with us on social media. You can tag Ajax Public Library on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or you can leave your notes in the comments on this video too. Now, there's not too much new going on with my plants this week, but I'm going to take a look at them with you anyway. We're going to start with our oregano. So here it is, still doing about the same. Yeah, there's our stems that belong to our basil, but the oregano is still doing well. It's still got its nice soft leaves, and it still smells like a pizza, so that's good. Yeah, so that's our oregano. I'll also show you how our green onion is doing. So I'll pull it out of the glass for a minute just so you can see it a little bit clearer. Like I said in our last video, I snipped it a little bit so that we could see if it grows back. Not too much progress yet, so we'll see if it gets any taller before next week. But you can see it still has these long roots at the bottom. So we'll see what happens with him. Next, we'll take a look at our onion. So not too much taller compared with last week, but you can see we still have these 3 stems, 1, 2, and 3. And I think it's interesting because it's a little bit similar to garlic, but it's growing very differently. You can see the garlic, we had those big tall shoots that kind of went straight up. And with the onion, we're getting more curvy ones. They look almost a little bit like grass, right? So that's kind of interesting, seeing how that grows differently. And we'll see if we have time to get it a little bit taller or maybe get a 4th shoot come up before next week. Before I show you our cucumbers, I'll ask you to take a minute and guess, how do you think it's doing? Has it started growing already? What do you think the shoots look like if it's started growing? Is it like our garlic and onion plant, or does it look a little bit different? So I'll give you a minute. And I'll show you. So sadly, our cucumber has not started growing yet. We've still kind of just got a bag of earth. So I think I mentioned last week, our instructions for this said that it will take a little bit longer to grow. So it might just take until next week, I hope, before we get some shoots. If not, it's always okay if things don't grow the way you'd like them to. That's part of gardening too. So I'll set him down as well. Now this week, we're not talking about plants, we're actually talking about bread. That might seem a little bit strange, but bread and pizza dough are actually made almost the same way. And since we're making our pizzas next week, I thought that might be a fun thing to talk about. So pizza dough is just rolled out, right? It's a lot flatter than most bread. And I'm going to talk more about how to make bread and pizza dough as part of today's activities. But first, we're going to talk about something that's not so good that happens to bread, and that's mold. Right? You know when you leave a loaf of bread in the cupboard for too long and it starts to go kind of blue and then you have to throw it out? It's always sad, but it can be a fun science experiment to see how and why that happens. So for our first activity, you're going to need 2 slices of bread, 2 sandwich bags, and your hands. So step 1 is to take one of the slices of bread and put it in a sandwich bag. That's it. Your second step is to wash your hands. Really wash them, make sure they're clean. Take your second slice of bread and put that in a sandwich bag too and seal it shut. Then find a safe place to leave both slices of bread for a week and see what happens. So before you get to the end of the week, think about what your guess is about what's going to happen. What do you think is going to be different between the 2 slices of bread? Will one get moldy faster than the other? Are they going to be exactly the same? Why do you think there will be a difference, or why don't you think there will be a difference? And what do you think will happen? So just ask yourself some questions. You can even write down what you think is going to happen first if you want to, and then at the end of the week, see how your bread is doing. But maybe not right before you eat your pizza if if you don't want to be looking at mold right before you eat. Our second activity is about something called bread sponges. So there is a story that way back in the 17th century, people used bread as a sponge to clean the art that's on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel in Italy. It's a very famous painting. So I want you guys to again take a minute to think about that. Do you think it would work to use bread as a sponge to clean something, especially a piece of art or a painting? Why do you think that would work, or why not? What's different about bread versus a sponge, and what's the same? Do you think it would give out water the same way when you squeeze it? So you can also give that a try for yourself. Take a slice of bread, soak it in some water, and then squeeze it out and see if you can use it to scrub something. Do you think it'll just fall apart? Do you think it'll actually help get the thing clean? So try out that science experiment too. And again, we would love to see your results if you want to share them with us. The final thing that we have to share with you guys this week in our PDF is a couple of recipes that you can use to make your own bread and your own pizza dough totally from scratch. So I'll leave the bread recipe for those of you who want to check out the PDF, but I'll do a quick explanation of the pizza dough since pizza is what we're here for. The recipe that we gave you guys in our PDF is actually, it suggests using a food processor, but you can actually make the dough very easily without that. So it's going to give you an amount of water, olive oil, flour, sugar, salt, and something called yeast. And yeast is important for making the dough rise. So it's going to give you amounts of all those ingredients, and still use those same amounts if you're not using a food processor, but just combine all of them and mix them together until you get kind of a smooth ball. And then you'll need to knead the dough, which means kind of moving it around with your hands, working with it, punching it a little bit if you want to, and twisting it around until you get a nice smooth substance that kind of springs back when you poke it with your finger. Once you have that, you put it in a bowl, you cover it with a tea towel, and wait for about an hour and a half, and then you can roll it out. Yeah, so really the only difference is you're combining it in a bowl instead of a food processor. It will work just the same, I promise. But if you do want the full recipe, please do check out our PDF. You can find it at ajaxlibrary.ca. And if you go to the program calendar and find Pizza Garden under today's date, you'll find a link that says August the 17th. And it'll have our theme there with all of our recipes and detailed instructions on how to do all the activities as well. Don't forget too that this program is part of the Summer Reading Club. So happy to see how much reading everyone's been doing so far. You've been doing such a great job. We're on our final week, so if you want to join, please go to ajaxlibrary.ca/src. There's still time to enter some of our contests and earn prizes for reading and for watching programs. So it's a great thing to be part of, and congratulations to everyone for all the reading they've done already. All right, I think that's just about it for today, but I do have a secret code to share with those of you who are in the Summer Reading Club. So I'll give you a second to get ready. Our secret code this week is yeast. Capital Y, lowercase e, a, s, t. Yeast, yeast, like the thing that I was saying we need to make bread and pizza dough. If you don't want to or don't have the time to make dough yourself, don't worry, you don't need it for our pizza party next week. You can make your own pizzas using just store-bought English muffins or tortilla shells, so don't worry about that. But do make sure you have all the toppings and ingredients that you want for next week, because we will be making our pizzas. All right, and I think you guys all deserve it after working so hard this summer. So I'll let you go for now. We'll see you next week for our pizza party, and in the meantime, have a great summer.